From Liberty City to Vice City to San Andreas, GTA practically invented open-world gaming. And this time in the bonus round, we look back and into the future. Which GTA game did each of our panelists think was the best?
The first one was a revolution, the second one was a rush job, and the third one was the masterpiece.
And when does Pack Attack think we'll see GTA 5?
They already have a story in mind. I think GTA 5 is already kind of in the planning stage.
Find out next in the show that's living the American dream, the bonus round. Hey everybody, welcome back to the bonus round talking about the Grand Theft Auto series. I'm Jeff Keighley, and joining me we've got Michael Pachter from Wedbush Morgan Securities, Pete Winnott from NBC Universal, and Chris Morrell from GamePro. All right, guys, so Grand Theft Auto, we've talked for weeks here about the power of this brand, the power of this franchise. When you look back over the GTA games, what was your favorite GTA game, Michael?
Clearly, the quarter of San Andreas that I played was the best of the gameplay, but I only finished GTA 3, so maybe there were surprises at the end of Vice City and San Andreas that would make me like Vice City more and hate San Andreas more. I don't think so.
No, but as we talked about before, I think most people don't even finish these Grand Theft Auto games. They just enjoy playing in the world. So
that's because most people don't have 1,000 hours to devote to a video game
to finish it. Pete, as a developer, they certainly improved. I think with each Grand Theft Auto adding more features to it. Was San Andreas your favorite?
Far and away. I mean, San Andreas is epic, and it's like the first one was a revolution, the second one was a rush job, and the third one was the masterpiece. So I think this one will probably take it, an evolutionary step over the original three.
Right. Chris, what about for you as a journalist? I mean, having played all three of them.
It's a tough call, but I think I actually have to go with Vice City. Right. I think from everything it did, and the soundtrack really brought a lot of people into that game, I think. And it was motorcycles, it was planes, it was the soundtrack, the Scarface story, the 80s vibe. It was just something that hit.
Thank you for that.
Oh, yeah, no problem. But, I think San Andreas, I loved it. It did a little bit too much. I don't think it needed to do the jetpack and the jet and all that stuff. Vice City seemed like the perfect amount. You could fly a little biplane, but you couldn't.
But you got to go to Area 51. Cool.
That's what I've always.
Is there a risk though that these Grand Theft Auto games get too big, in that now they're adding multiplayer on there, and you see it seems like Halo 3 they add Forge, they add all these other features. It's like at some point do these games get too big for $60? They lose focus.
I think we're going to test compression technology on this one because the 360 is still using a 9 gigabyte DVD.
Do we think it's only on one DVD? Could it be on
let's
two?
Find out. Yeah,
it
better be. I mean, the graphics alone are going to suck up half of that. So I actually expect this game's going to be smaller than San Andreas. I think that, and also I think, we were talking off camera, we'll talk on camera about making a game for multi-platform as opposed to just single platform SKU. It's a lot more work, so if anything has to be sacrificed, I think it's game length. And my expectation is this will be the smallest of the three.
Wow. You agree?
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the big advantages that the first games had was they were single console focused. And, if you're a game developer, it's just better to make games for one console. I mean, the publishing side will always tell you, we want it on, it's the old Acclaim method of we're going to vomit 50 SKUs at you. It's like, but that's the thing. Every time you add a SKU, you decrease the level of quality of the game. Right. There's very few exceptions, like Madden sort of is prepared, but they're basically remaking the same game every year.
But still, you look at, last year the Xbox version ran at twice the frame rate as PS3. I mean, they're not always the same game. And
you guys have seen it recently. Is that still the case? I mean, is the PS3 still have issues?
Yeah, I think it was still like a couple of weeks, and it was a couple of weeks earlier than the bill we saw was completed a few weeks earlier. So they said there's still development time left on it. But yeah, I think we'll have to see what happens with the frame rate ultimately. I mean, you never know until as a developer until you see the final version how it's really going to net out. But yeah, I think, I'm sure there probably will be differences, right, Chris?
Yeah, I think there might be a little bit. I don't think it's going to be anything significant that anybody should really worry about. If you have a PS3 or 360, I think either one that you get is going to be an awesome experience. But I think back to the size of the game, I think it's quality over quantity here. Right. And San Andreas was a little too much quantity. Right. And I think they're going back to more of like a GTA 3 style of game. I mean, it's basically New York, and but you boil it down to one intersection, and you're going to say, oh, this is the real deal. It's not just throwing a bunch of stuff in there just for the sake of doing it.
So Michael, you mentioned how sometimes it's harder to do multi-platform games. Do you think Rockstar would have preferred to just do this game for PlayStation 3? I mean, did Sony screw up here?
You know, again, it's I think Pete's the expert on what a developer would prefer.
Right.
Sony made an economic decision not locking this in as a single platform game.
Right.
And
do you think they really had a number in front of them? They said, we're not going to pay that?
Yeah, but I think the number was several $100 million.
Right.
I mean, you know, when Sony allowed Microsoft to launch the 360 first,
right,
they sealed their fate. There's no way they can pay up for an exclusive because they're so far behind in the installed base, and they won't be able to pay for an exclusive for 3 or 4 more years. So, you know, Take-Two would not say, oh, okay, we'll just forego 10 million lifetime unit sales on the 360 for your $20 million guarantee. I mean, it would have to be 300 million or 400 million. No way is Sony paying that kind of money. No chance.
I think you turn around and you see Microsoft paying money for this exclusive downloadable content. Is that something that you think Sony should have ponied up for as well?
They could have, but you know, realistically, who's going to download it? I mean, PlayStation Network, I think, has...
Microsoft, were they paying $100 million for that downloadable content?
They paid $50 million. They paid $50 million as an advance for 2 downloads.
For 2, okay.
So, you know, if you kind of go with 70% goes to the publisher and 30% goes to Microsoft, that implies that there'll be about $150, $170 million worth of total downloads, which tells me that they think there's going to ultimately be either 10 million downloads at $15 a pop, or 2 million downloads at $150 a pop. And that's the problem with downloadable content. We don't know what we're going to get, and we don't know what we're going to be charged.
It was a risk.
If it's $100 for a map pack, no, I don't think very many people are going to pay it. If it's, you know, $5 for another 20 levels, I think everybody on Xbox Live who has the GTA 4 disc is going to download it. My guess is it's going to be $15, $20, and my guess is it's going to be just enough content to make you want to do it, but you'll think about it.